Yeah, thank you, Harry. Thank you, everyone. So my name is Dr. Henry THROOP. I'm a scientist and astronomer at NASA. I've been working for NASA for about 5 years, and I've been an astronomer researching the outer solar system for about 20 years. And so I've lived all around the world in my work with NASA, sometimes in the US, sometimes I've lived in South Africa, sometimes I've lived in India. I lived in Bombay for 3 years. Sometimes I lived in the US, and now I actually live in Sri Lanka. And so I am working from, I'm your neighbor in Sri Lanka right now. I live in Colombo. Mostly I am not working with the people in Colombo, but I'm working remotely for NASA headquarters in Washington, DC. And so the sorts of things that I work on as an astronomer is I work with the New Horizons mission, which went to Pluto and then went out to the Kuiper Belt. And so it was launched in 2006, and it took about 15 years to go through the solar system and did the first exploration of Pluto and the first exploration of the Kuiper Belt, which is the outer region of our solar system. I've worked with many other spacecraft in the solar system. I worked with the Cassini mission, which went to Saturn. I'm working a little bit with the Dragonfly mission, which is going to the moon of Saturn called Titan. I've worked with Juno, which is a mission which is at Jupiter and mapping out the clouds and rings and moons of Jupiter. And so I get to work with all these projects throughout the solar system. I've used telescopes around the world to look at comets, look at asteroids, and look at planets, look at stars. Mostly my research deals with the solar system. So I don't deal so much with black holes and galaxies, but I do deal with the planets and the comets and the moons inside our own solar system. And so I love India. I love the work that ISRO is doing. ISRO is doing terrific exploration of the solar system through the Chandrayaan and the Mangalyaan missions. In fact, I have right here, I always carry around with me the 2,000 rupee note. I was very happy to see this. In fact, I got this note right after demonetization. It was the first new piece of money that I saw after demonetization had happened. And I was really happy to find it, both because it was some rupees that I could find and because it had the beautiful Mars orbiter mission on it. So India is doing amazing things with space.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Henry, for sharing the information about yourself. We are so blessed today to be your attendance, actually. So without wasting a minute, I would like to request some of my colleagues to pose their questions. So I request the MBO sir of Dugirala, please interact with the sir and ask your respective questions, sir. So MBO sir of Dugirala. So are you there, sir? Okay, next Veerapiya sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
I'm Srinivas Rao, MEO Dugirala. Sir, good afternoon, Henry sir. I'm very happy to interact with such a great astronomer like you. Is a great moment for me, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Sir, exactly now I am over the moon, sir, to meet such a great personality in astronomer. I am very interested in space science, sir. I want to dedicate my life to space observations in future. It gives pleasure to me. Here, my first question is, I have a bundle of questions. Actually, if you permit me, I can ask more questions. I have to clarify my doubts. Sir, my first question is, can we observe trans-Neptunian objects with telescopes? Which telescope is better? One, for us to watch inner and outer planets and their moons and Andromeda galaxy, etc. This is my first question.
Yes, so trans-Neptunian objects are small bodies which are beyond the orbit of Neptune, and so they are near Pluto. They're in the Kuiper Belt, and we have seen these TNOs or Kuiper Belt objects many times with telescopes from the ground. In fact, we have used many of the largest telescopes on the ground, such as the Keck telescope, such as the Subaru telescope, such as perhaps the Palomar telescope, such as the European telescopes, the VLT, the Very Large Telescope, to see these TNOs. And so they have been discovered from the Earth and observed from the Earth.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. So, Veerappai garu, are you there? Veerappai garu. And Sivanageshwara garu. Okay. Sivanageshwara garu, are you there? Okay. Next. Yes, Padma ma'am, please go ahead. Padma ma'am. Padma ma'am, are you able to hear me? So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please.
I'm audible now.
Yes, it's audible.
I'm audible, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I hear you.
Sir, we are really happy to interact with you. Our children, our students are so excited. They have been waiting for the session from morning. We are really blessed. The thing is, we hear that many students throughout the world visit NASA. You invite them. Could you elaborate the procedure? How can our students apply and can visit NASA, sir?
Yes. So there are a couple of NASA visitor facilities in the United States. There is a visitor facility where people can visit at the NASA Johnson Space Center and the Kennedy Space Center, which are in the US. And these are ones which are open to anybody. Anybody who shows up may you have to purchase a ticket, which essentially gives you a tour of the NASA facility. And anybody who shows up may be given a tour there. These are the launch facilities, which like at the Kennedy Space Center is where a lot of the rockets launch from, such as the Saturn V rocket, which went to the moon, launched from there, and the space shuttle, when that was used, went from there. If you go at the right time, then you can see a launch at nighttime. You can even stand in the city and see the launch because the launch is very bright and it's publicized ahead of time. So if you come to the United States sometime, I encourage you to visit these NASA centers to learn what NASA is doing.
Okay, thank you, Henry. Henry, here is Henry. We have a science teacher here with me, and he is my colleague. So he is going to interact with you.
Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Henry THROOP, sir. And good
Hello,
afternoon,
how are you?
all the participants. My name is Raviram Kishore, currently working as school assistant in Jilla Parishad High School, Ayalvaram. I am thankful to my colleague Hari Krishna, sir, to make this platform to participate. I am also thankful to Dr. Henry THROOP, sir, to give an opportunity to interact with us. I feel very happy to talk with you, sir. Sir, my question is, as shown in Interstellar movie, is black hole the shortest path between two galaxies or universes? Sir, as shown in Interstellar movie, is black hole the shortest path between two galaxies or two universes?
So yeah, the movie Interstellar was very interesting. I think that a lot of the physics in Interstellar was definitely based on the physics of relativity and the motion through the universe using black holes and wormholes. There were many aspects of interstellar which were very accurate. There were other aspects of interstellar which were not as accurate. For instance, one of the things that they did in interstellar is they took spacecraft. They wanted to visit new planets, and they took spacecraft and astronauts to the planet to see if they were habitable or not. We actually have used robots and telescopes a lot to learn about whether planets can support life or not. You don't need to go to a planet with an astronaut to actually find out whether you can live on it. Instead, you can just study it with a telescope or study it with a robot. So while many things in Interstellar were accurate, there were many things that were made up for the movie as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me also just say one thing. I really liked the movie named The Martian, and I don't know if you've seen The Martian. I really liked The Martian. I thought it gave a very realistic view of humans in space and of science, and how much of this is done. And so, if you haven't seen The Martian, I encourage you to see that. And most of what happens in The Martian isn't really science fiction. It could be done right now, today, or next year, or in 2 years, using the technology that we have now. So it was, I think, really an excellent movie.
So must-watch movie. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So next, Sivanageswara garu, are you there? Sivanageswara garu. Next, Madhukumar garu, do you have? Yes, Sivanageswara garu, please go ahead. Yes,
sir.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I am Sivanageswara Rao, physical science teacher in Jilla Parishad High School, Attota. My student asking a question, sir.
Hi, sir. I am so happy to in June class. I'm Meghna, studying 8th class in Jilla Parishad Attota, Kolipara Mandal, Guntur district in AP. I have a doubt. How many planets can we see with our naked eye in night?
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you so much. So, well, let's see. You can see Mercury with your naked eye. You can see Venus. Of course, you can see Earth. You can see Mars, the bright red planet. You can see Jupiter, and you can see Saturn. So people have seen all these planets for about the past, maybe 5,000 years. And you can tell the difference. You can tell why they're planets for two things. They're a little bit, some of these are brighter than the stars, and they move through the constellations. The stars are fixed. So we have the fixed pattern of stars, the constellations, which moves through the sky like this. But the planets, they move in front of the stars, and they don't change the pattern of the stars. And so anything that moves in the solar system is probably a planet and not a star. So there you have Mercury, Venus, Earth, plus the sun and moon, and then Jupiter, Saturn. And that's what we can see. And I encourage you all to go outside. You can see these from any city that you're in. You can see all of these. You don't need a telescope. You don't need binoculars. There's an app that you can get on your phone, which tells you what where the planets are and where the stars are. I have one here called Skyview, and it let's see, that's not right. Here it goes. There's one called Star Walk, which shows the positions of the stars in the sky, and you can point up there, and the stars will move around, and the planets will move around, and you can see all the planets that way. It's so I encourage you to use one of these applications on your phone and watch the planets.
Yeah, thank you. Nagalakshmi ma'am. Nagalakshmi ma'am, are you there? Nagalakshmi ma'am. Okay. Next, whom should I ask? Uma garu. DM Rao High School. Mama Isra garu, are you there?
Okay, sir. Hare Krishna, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello.
Okay, sir. Henry, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I am very pleasant to see with Zoom meeting, sir.
Good to meet you. Yes, please go
Hello,
ahead.
sir.
Yes,
please.
yes, I hear you. Please go ahead.
Question, sir.
Why sounds are coming from the sky? Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
What?
why?
Yes.
Ultrasounds are coming from the sky?
I'm sorry. Say your question again.
Why ultrasounds are coming from the sky?
Why are what coming from the sky?
Ultrasound.
Yes, sir.
Ultrasound.
Ultrasounds.
Ultrasonic sounds.
Ultrasonic
ultra-
sounds.
Ultrasonic sound. So
Sound, sir. Yes, sir.
yes. So ultrasonic sounds. All of the physical processes in the universe create sounds or create vibrations, and sometimes we get ultrasonic sounds from vibrations inside the planets. For instance, inside the Earth has ultrasonic sounds which are made from plate tectonics, from the volcanoes. We have ultrasonic and subsonic sounds. We get the same thing in space from magnetic fields and from the atmospheres of the planets like Jupiter and so forth. So everything moves, and ultrasonic just means it's moving at a different speed than it is if you could hear it with your ears.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Nagalakshmi ma'am. Nagalakshmi ma'am, are you there? Srinivasrao garu?
Space లో ఏదో magnetic field ఉండిద్దా?
అదేగా
Sir,
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
sir, I am Nagleshwar from West Godavari district, Narsapur, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Sir, my students are going to ask some questions with Henry, sir.
Yes.
First of all, Henry, sir, we are very happy to see you like this. Really, you have given a valuable, you are giving a valuable session to the student. It is very much important and very much useful for the children, especially
Yes.
in this year. Thank you so much, sir. One of my students is going to ask a question with you. Please, sir.
Yes, please.
Hello, Henry.
Hello, how are
Henry
you?
sir. My name is Hemantita. I am studying 7th class, West Godavari district, Narsapuram. What is the truth about astrology?
So astrology is studying the signs and the constellations for when you were born. Astrology is not science. Astronomy is what science is, and astronomy is studying the physics and the chemistry of the universe. And so some people in the past have believed that the position of the stars and the position of the sun and the moon influence what your personality is. And that's what astrology is. Scientists now believe that astronomy is how we study the universe, and astronomy is based on the physics and chemistry of how the universe moves.
Thank you. Next, Rajshekar sir. Rajshekar garu.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Henry sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
My name is Sandhya. I'm studying 7th class in Municipal English Medium School, West Godavari district, Narsapuram, sir. Why is astrology is important in our life?
I can say why astronomy is important in our life. Astronomy is important because it is a science of studying the universe around us. And so when we study astronomy, then we can study all of the universe, all of how our Earth works, all of how the sun and the moon and the planets work. And we do this because we are curious about the world and about understanding and explaining the world around us.
Okay. Thank you. Rajshekar garu. Rajshekar garu, please go ahead.
Sir, sir.
Rajshekar garu.
Hello, Henry sir.
Sir,
Good
Rajshekar garu,
Hello?
go ahead. Yeah, please.
sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Is it audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, Henry sir.
Sir, very glad to interact Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, how will become as astronaut? I mean, which courses will he study? Universities offer these courses, sir.
Yes, so astronauts come from many, many different fields, both astronauts in the US and in Europe and in Russia and from India, from many countries. Most astronauts have a master's degree or a PhD in engineering or in the sciences. So for anybody, if you're interested in the sciences and interested in pursuing doing research, being an astronomer or being an astronaut, I can encourage you to go to university, study science at university. And once you've done this, then you could, if you want to, continue to get a master's degree or a PhD abroad. There are many degree programs in Europe, such as in Germany or in England or the United States, which look for, you have to be a very, very good student to get into these. But there are many great undergraduate universities in India where students who are at the top of their class after finishing undergraduate can then go on to get to do graduate studies and get a master's degree or a PhD in the sciences or in engineering.
Thank you. Raja Babu garu. Raja Babu garu. Unmute yourself, sir.
Hello, Henry sir. Good evening.
Sir, namaste, sir. This is Raja Babu.
Yes,
sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, this is Raja Babu. Sir, is it audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
sir.
I hear you, Raja Babu.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, this is Raja Babu from ZPHS Sirigiripadu, Guntur district. So my student has some small clarification from you. If you want to.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Samar Lakshmi. I am very glad to meet you. I have small clarify to you.
Yes,
Is
please.
it real? NASA first footstep on moon on 1969. It is really NASA have that much of technology before 50 years back, because ISRO it has so many success, but still it's fighting to footstep on moon. Still it is in progressing. Please clarify.
Yes, so NASA and the Apollo astronauts went to the moon in 1969. This was the Apollo program, which started early in about 1960 and put people on the moon with about 10 years of effort. It was a huge program in the United States, a huge program involving many thousands of engineers and scientists from all across the United States. ISRO has been doing great things to do research in astronomy and physics and exploring the universe. And ISRO is making great progress as well. The United States, of course, had a space program before India did, had a large space program from before India. And so this is why the US had landers on the moon before India has. But I think that India has been making great successes. I encourage, Israel. I'm sure that Israel will continue to have some amazing missions between the Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan. Israel has been talking about making a new mission to go to Venus as well. And there are many, the US and NASA are working on several Venus missions as well. But if there are multiple countries working together to explore the universe around us, this is best for everyone.
Madhukumar garu. Madhukumar garu, are you there? Madhukumar. Madhukumar garu. So, yes. ZPHS Bogaram. ZPHS Bogaram.
Namaste, sir.
Okay. Sir. Sir.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
sir.
So, ZPHS Bogaram.
Good afternoon, Henry sir.
Please wait for just a few seconds. So I would like to connect Madhukumar garu with our guest teacher. Madhukumar garu, please go ahead. Madhukumar garu, are you there? Okay, I think it's.
Hare Krishna, sir. May I be the while?
Yeah. So, yes. Madhukumar garu, please go ahead. Sir. Madhukumar garu, are you there? So, ZPHS Bagaram, please.
Good afternoon, Henry sir.
Yes, please.
My name is Likita. I am from ZPHS Boggaram, Guntur district, sir, Andhra Pradesh. I would like to ask you a few questions, sir. May I?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. What are the career chances in the astronomy? May I choose it in my future?
I'm sorry, say again. What are the chances if you choose your future?
Yes, sir. What are the career chances of astronomy? May I choose it for my future?
So, Henry, our question is, what are the future career chances opting astronomy as a future career? Is it lucrative?
Yes.
Of the astronomy as a future career?
Yes. So there are many astronomers who work in the U.S. and in India and in Europe and other countries. And so if you are passionate about science and passionate about doing research and studying the world around you, there are many careers for astronomers. There are many careers for engineers. There's many careers for people in IT as well. So some people love doing astronomy the most and end up doing this. But for all these careers, what you should do is I encourage you to attend university. You must, for all of these careers, whether it's engineering or whether it's doing science or whether it's doing astronomy or whether it's doing physics, you must get a university education. A university education would help you with all of these careers. And then after you finish the university education, if you're interested more in astronomy, then you can take specialized courses in astronomy to become an astronomer.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madhukumar garu, are you still available? Sir? Yes, sir. Please interact. Madhukumar garu. Sir, unmute your microphone. Unmute your microphone.
Sir, good afternoon, sir, all of you. Sir. Hello.
Yes, Madhukumar.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Henry THROOP, it is very pleasure to join with us. I am thankful to you and Hare Krishna garu to arrange this live program to share with us government school children. It is very much pleasure. It is very beautiful session, sir. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you, sir. Hare Krishna garu once again.
Sir, Henry.
We will do number of programs in future like this.
Yeah, Henry, he is someone who is behind me in organizing this session. Madhukumaru is one of the active participant and active teacher in this province, and he organizes different science-related projects, and he has been so active, and I'm so thankful to you in this regard. So anyone, if you want to.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, sir.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, sir. My student wishes to talk.
Yes.
Yes.
Hare Krishna garu. Hare Krishna garu.
Yes, sir. Yes. Let's talk about.
Congratulations from Kundur High School.
Yes, sir. I will come back to you, sir.
Yeah, give a chance to my students to speak with English.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sir.
Yes, please.
So,
yes, please.
Please ask your students to interact with Henry.
Yeah. She is right now. She is asking, sir.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Hello, Henry, sir. I'm Isha from Government Nehru Memorial High School, Malakpet, Telangana, Hyderabad. As I aspire to become an astronomer, I'm interested a lot in astronomy. I want to know what skills and what should I study to become an astronaut.
Yes, okay, so the skills, what you must study to become an astronomer. First, a lot of mathematics and physics. I studied a lot of, did a lot of work in programming computers, doing coding, for instance, in the Python language to analyze a lot of data. And then be persistent. So keep with what you were studying. So study physics and math and coding, and then be persistent. Take more classes, attend the university to learn the most about physics and math and your course of study. And there is so much to learn out there in astronomy. There are some astronomy programs. For instance, there is an astronomy program at one of the universities, I think Osmania in Hyderabad, which is one of the few in India for the undergraduate for the university. That's an excellent program at Osmania. And once you have done this, then if you're interested in continuing, then you can go to a graduate school to continue your studies and do research further in astronomy. So it sounds like you have a lot of interest, and I encourage you to do great things.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sir.
Yeah, Ramakrishna garu. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Oh, yeah, I will come back to you, ma'am. I will come back to you little later. Ramakrishna garu, please go ahead. Ramakrishna garu.
Sir, yes, sir. I'm Ramakrishna from ZPHS Chennai. Sir, Henry, sir. Good afternoon.
Hello.
I want to ask you one question, sir. What are some of the qualities that a research astronomer need to be effective?
I think that anybody who is working as an astronomer or as a scientist is motivated by asking a lot of questions and then being persistent enough to answer those questions. So be curious and be persistent and work hard. Those are the most important.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
ZPHS Dharmavaram. ZPHS Dharmavaram.
దాని మీద క్యూరియాసిటీ ఉండాలి.
ZPHS Dharmavaram. ZPHS Dharmavaram. Okay. Nagalakshmi garu. Nagalakshmi garu. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, Jakir garu. Jakir garu, are you there?
Hare Krishna, sir.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, one small question of my
Thank you
child,
so
sir.
much, Henry, sir. Thank you to meet you and having a good interaction with you. One of my students.
Good evening. I am Harshita and studying.
Yes, Jakir garu, please go ahead. We are waiting. We are waiting for your question.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. You are talking. Somebody else is speaking, sir.
Okay, no problem, sir. We are waiting for you.
The question is,
What if life exists on natural satellites like the moon, which rotates the earth, which rotates the planet? What if life exists on the natural satellite like moon, which rotate the planet? And what type of life will be exist on the natural satellites if there is life on natural satellites?
Okay, excellent question about life in the universe. So we have looked for life in the universe. We haven't found any life elsewhere. The only life that we have found is on Earth. We haven't found any on the moon yet. We haven't found any life on Mars. We haven't found any life on comets. We don't know. We have looked in many places in the solar system, but there are other places that we haven't looked yet. For instance, we want to look for life on the moons of Jupiter and on the moons of Saturn, because a lot of these have water, and water is where life may develop. And so that's where we are looking for life, or looking for the signs of life, is on the moons of Jupiter the moons of Saturn, and also on Mars. There's a lot of interest in looking for life on Mars. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere, doesn't have very much water or liquid water, and so it's not really a very good place to look for life. And on satellites themselves, they're very small, and so there's no life on the satellites themselves.
Oh, thank you, Henry. Henry, I have to appeal to you one thing. So it's a free Zoom session I am trying right now.
Sir, thank you.
So I am trying only free Zoom session right at the moment. So could you please reconnect again one more time? Because in this session only we have 2 minutes left. So I request all the participants to reconnect one more time so that your questions, that whatever the questions that is still you want to ask with Henry, you can pose just a few seconds after this session. So I request you all, please reconnect one more time so that you can interact with Henry sir with some more questions. So Henry, I think you caught the point. So could you please rejoin again one more time?
Yes. Okay, so I must leave and rejoin.
Yeah. So all the participants, please reconnect one more time.